Well, hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the Summer Spotlight 2020. I am your host, Gayle Nicholson. How are you guys doing today? Today is a very, very exciting day for me. Um, just because after the show today, I get to go camping on the Colorado River, and I absolutely adore camping. So, wish me luck, and I'll be socially distancing myself from everybody but the fish. So, help me welcome today. This lady, God, I
Uh,
absolutely love what she's done with what she has, where she's at, and some of the things that she can do to help you write your first book are just off the charts amazing. So, let me introduce her to you. Her name is Mary Yamin-Garone. She's a writer, an editor, and a business owner up in upstate New York. And she hosts the website thewiseonewriting.com. Thank you so much for being with me today, Mary. How are you?
I'm fine. Nice to be here again.
Awesome, awesome stuff. So tell me a little bit about how you went into business. You know, how did you go from what you were doing, whatever it was before, to starting the Wise One Writing? What was your path?
I was working for state government for 15 years, and I was in what they call a patronage position, which means you're there at the pleasure of the governor. Um, so three, I think it was three times he was reelected, and the third time he was done, which meant so was I. So uh, I had to figure out what to do. And ironically, my dad, to get me in the beginning, he kind of pulled some strings with some of his political cronies there to get me in. So when I got booted out, of course, being a good dad, he wanted to try to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I don't want, I really don't want to do that. And my mother knew better. And we were in a diner having lunch and having a conversation. And somehow my mother got talking about me not going back into government. And she said, um, I know that it's not what you want to do, so you need to do what it is that you want. So
God bless your mom.
after a while, um, I started to get everything happening. But the other thing, when I got laid off, or I don't know if it was laid off or fired, I don't know how you really say that. But my husband saw that as a very big opportunity for me it's kind of like my mom, just encouraging me to do that. So I think it was 1990, it must have been in late 95 or early 96, because I think I left government in 95. That's when I started the Wise One Writing. And the name is a little play on my last name, which is Yamin-Garone.
Nice. I like that. I like that. I'll be honest with you. When we first started talking and I saw your email address, I reading it out before ever hearing it is like they zone writing.
There's a couple of different ways to, to kind of mess that up. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
But it is clever, and I really like how you bring your personality into it with the Y, the capital Y. Very, very much so.
And my business cards have an owl on them, so that's another little play.
Wonderful stuff. Wonderful. Now, in wanting to talk to you specifically about what it is that you do, um, one of the reasons why I was attracted to talking to you is that you've got a very particular way of working with people as a writing coach. Can you give our audience an idea of exactly what to expect when they decide to work with you?
Initially, I think what we talked before is the outline, which many aspiring writers don't understand the importance of that. I I think I told you I had two clients that came to me for help. Manuscripts completely done, no outline. So we always go. start there. That's the roadmap to follow. And then after the outline, then we start picking the outline apart in whatever section they want us. You don't necessarily have to go from A to Z. You can jump around there, especially if it's nonfiction. And then we just keep going until everything is done.
Gotcha. So to kind of create an analogy for that, having an outline for your book is like having a map to where you want to go. You don't want to end up like a Donner Party, right? Dead in the mountains, not knowing how you're gonna survive the end of this story, right? That outline
Yeah.
really helps you bring it back to it, and like you said, it doesn't have to be linear. You don't have to do chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, depending on the type of the book.
Right.
Even jumping around, it keeps you contained to what exactly you decided to communicate when you decided to write the book.
You say that so nicely, and they fight. They just fight that. I don't need an outline. I'm like, yes, yes, you do. Or I have one, and then it's like, okay, let me see it.
It's right
And
here in
there's
my
no outline.
head.
So, okay, no. At the end, they get it when they go through it and they see how it all works. Then they're happy. But in the beginning, a lot of times they don't see the need at first.
Yeah. And I know that there are a lot of writers that are like that. For example, George R. Martin, he's what you would call a gardener type of writer, in that he plants seeds and maybe later on they might play out to be an integral part of the story, something that comes back around and surprises you, right? But a lot of times those seeds are just left to wither and die and become storylines that your reader goes, well, what happened to the waitress back in chapter 3 that had so much promise? And trimming those out in your story will take a heck of a lot longer than writing an outline and following it, right?
Yes, and again, we talked about having the mind map
Mm-hmm.
kind of outline, which is all free flowing.
Right.
I
So
think they
tell me
tend
more
to.
about that.
Mind mapping is kind of like throwing a lot of paint paint on a canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, typically you would put the rough title of your book in the center, and then whatever you want to go in there is either written on this huge sheet of paper or on little post-its. So it's not as strict, and
Mm-hmm.
it seems to work better because it's not strict. It's again that free flowing kind of thing.
I think that's valuable to have those two different ways, because you and I both know there are different kinds of people in the world. There are the linear, gotta go in progression type of people, and there are the creatives that go, okay, I've got all this. How can we contain it and make it communicable? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a bad word to use, actually. That make it sound like a disease. Communicatable.
Glad we clarified that.
Right. Although, if you do want your stuff to go viral, pun
Oh,
for you there.
yeah. But it's interesting because one of my fiction lady didn't want anything to do with the mind mapping, and the nonfiction surprised the heck out of me because she just went all out. She loved it. She loved it.
Phenomenal. Okay, awesome. So that outline, whichever way you do it, creates that foundation, right?
Yes.
Um, so then, as they're going through, whether it's writing or rewriting from that outline, how do you take them further? Is it more copy editing, or is it more directional guidance?
I would say it's a combination of both, depending on the person. Some of them don't need that direction as much. But I had what my nonfiction, she needed a lot more, I would say a lot more help. The direction was a little harder for her, trying to really be able to explain it was a situational kind of thing. She was dealing with depression, and so it was a lot about how she recovered from that on her own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But other than that,
Okay, gotcha. Now, when we go through the process, I think, of looking at and considering whether to hire someone to help us do something, right? In many cases, a lot of us think, well, I should be able to do this on my own, right? Right? I went to fifth grade English class. I should be able to write War and Peace, right?
some may think that, really.
Right? So, but quite honestly, and especially, at least in my opinion, in the realm of writing, okay? Considering how much time writing actually takes, and if you consider your time as money, right? If
Hmm.
you do this on your own and really don't know how to write yourself out of corners or stay on track, can it actually be a more frugal investment to hire a coach to help you stay on target? Um, and should people consider that when, the time that they will save in completing a finished product when they look at what it's going to take to actually hire a coach?
Yes, to the first part of that question. It's interesting because now with I've been doing these, want to write your first book kind of thing, and then one of the questions is something to deal with how they want to do it. I think they don't quite understand what it takes to do that on their own, but they really want to do it on their own. So there's a fine. It gets to be like a little fine line there as to how much I can. I don't want to say push, but encourage them to take the leap and get the help. Um, some of them they they start that way. They really want the help. But I've seen others where they're in the end they do get the help.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Which I just have to. I explain to them what the difference is, and it's actually faster and easier if they get the help.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I would think too. Back in Michigan, when I was working on one of my first books, one of the things that was so valuable to me then was I went to a writer's meetup, and there were various different people that also attended that meetup that I could get feedback from. Um, you've got a Facebook group, correct?
I do.
That also fosters such kind of community as well. What is that Facebook group called?
It's bring your words to life with confidence and clarity.
Okay. Um, and I have it on your link as just bring your words to life. They'll be able to search for it on Facebook under that and find you, right?
Mhm.
Awesome, awesome. Because I know sometimes, even when you're working with a coach, right? You as a writer, you've got certain decisions to make, you know. And sometimes just throwing an idea out there, should I make my protagonist blonde or brunette? Maybe, a waste of time for the coach, but a community can give you back. You know what? When I think blonde, I think this about a character. Is your character this? When I see redheads, I think about this about a character. Is your character this? Sometimes that community feedback can really be an extra bonus to working with somebody like yourself, correct?
Oh, I agree. We just expanded the group. Uh, I think 30 women because I tend to want to work with women
Mm-hmm.
um, are in the group, and we're going to start doing more of that
Excellent
to
stuff.
get the input. Like then we're doing a little survey as to what is your biggest problem writing, not necessarily writing a book, just writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be your outline, writer's block, procrastination, not knowing where to, and a lot of them need that, and that's kind of like a little
Mm-hmm.
kick in the butt there, especially if they're stuck on any one of those particular items. And I see writer's block comes up a lot,
Mm-hmm.
procrastination comes up a lot, and not knowing where to start. Those seem to be the three biggies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. When you have other people, putting their thoughts out, it helps.
Yeah. You know, something that has always helped me when with writer's block and procrastination, and those are big for me too. Trust me, I don't even know what to say, so I don't even know where to start. Often, what helps is just other people asking me a question, because I can answer questions. I
Hmm.
can't think of something out of thin air, but I can answer questions. So
Hmm.
that's always a big help too. Now, I imagine over the course of years that you've been doing this, you've run across people with varying degrees of skills when it comes to writing. Is
Sorry.
is there
Uh,
what if they just suck? What if they're no good? Will you actually tell them, you know what, save your money?
well, I don't think I've ever said it sucks.
Okay, good.
Um, I think I try to find a way to make it better, um, and easier, because there's some that, when they start out, they're a little dicey. But if they stick with me, and again, if they see what I do, and how I do it and what I tell them, then it starts to turn around.
There is a learning by osmosis when you're working with somebody that's editing you and guiding you, eh?
But there have been one or two where you're kind of like, ooh. Yeah. But
Yeah.
got to go straight ahead,
Yeah.
straight ahead. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever told someone that I didn't, I couldn't help them. It may
Excellent.
take a little longer for you, for instance, than someone else, but
Hmm.
I've never said I can't, we can't get this to work.
Right, right. And there's so many other tools and techniques available too. I think today that there didn't used to be. You know, we have
Oh, for
we
sure.
we have
Yeah.
different brains that learn in different ways best, and not everybody is a words on paper kind of person, but yet they can speak a book that's just amazing. You know, like the verbal storytellers. And you know, now we have these ability to speech to text, and
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Have you ever worked with somebody that seemed like would be the way for them to best express themselves?
I, I haven't done that working with someone, but a friend of mine who I'm helping, I'm doing the editing on her book. That's how she does it.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Right now, because of the coronavirus and COVID and all of these limitations that we're dealing with, I've had the good fortune to meet up with two other women, and we've been doing these Zoom meetings where we're discussing this thing, and it will eventually end up being transcribed into a book. Um, and that's kind of our way of doing a three-person contributive book,
Hmm.
that just a new way of doing things. So I just wondered if you were using that technique yet, or you know, if you were open to that kind of technique for people who might have a little bit more challenge in their skills to start out with. And if you don't, that's fine too. I just didn't know if you did.
And I think if they tried to get a, I think I guess it's like dictation, sort of what you're
Hmm.
saying.
Yeah.
Um, I think that would be good in the beginning, and hopefully they would get enough confidence to get weaned to
Hmm.
do a one-on-one
Okay.
kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Now, give me a little bit more detail about specifically what a writing coach is responsible for doing, right? Because, of course, you're not doing the writing for them, right? And you're encouraging them, but what else can you do that gives them the confidence and gets them to a completed manuscript, one that's
How do I?
worthy of publishing?
I think what I think what I do best to instill the confidence is being very supportive, um, and look at what they've done, and be very kind, very kind, and encouraging, because that's how I was when I was starting. My dad was the one that was doing that for me, with my writing. Um, and yeah, I think that's probably the to be a cheerleader, I think too is a, an awful plays an awful big part in that, because if you don't have somebody that's really pushing for you and you're holding their hand
Mm-hmm.
pretty much,
Yeah.
and it makes a world of difference. Because
Okay.
if not, there are a lot of them when they come to me are with writing, they're floundering. They don't know. They get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
They get stuck. They either don't know how to start, don't know how to finish, don't know how to do all kinds of things that I give them that little boost.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, that was one of my biggest problems in the beginning is I didn't know how to finish. The stories would just go on and on and on because I didn't know how to conclude them. And
I
that
know.
is that is a particular skill.
Well, and it's funny because when I do like blog posts for my group or articles, a lot of times I start at the end and go back.
Interesting. Interesting. So that brings up a really good point. Not just books, but there's an awful lot of copywriting that needs to be done for online entrepreneurs these days.
Hmm.
Different types of social media posts, all while paying attention to where you're posting, what the audience wants from you there, formatting, and all that kind of stuff. But the copy itself, can you help people with their social media writing?
Hmm. I can.
Tell me a little bit about what you do there.
Well, if we're talking like are you blog post kind of social media
Blog
thing?
posts, empathy posts, call to action posts, that type of thing.
The blog one's pretty much the easier one to do because for that it's more, I think my editing skills come into play
Mm-hmm.
there. Again, if they pay attention to what I'm doing, and what I'm telling and explaining,
Mm-hmm.
over time, that they will be able to get better just by doing that.
Right.
I think some of the other ones you mentioned are probably the same. Call to action is a little different, but it's the same premise as to look at it and then edit, and then hopefully next time around they won't need me.
That's that push the birdie out of the nest moment, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and now I'm trying to help people, mainly. Again, I prefer working for women entrepreneurs, helping them make an ebook for their business.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be very helpful for a lot of business owners in the
Yes.
digital age now. Yeah, and it's not hard to do.
Mm-mm.
Not
No.
hard to do.
No, but
But
we've moved out of the realm of going into a doctor's office and picking up a brochure and walking out with it,
yeah.
or business cards or that type of thing. So those ebooks, especially for entrepreneurs and that explain who they are, what they
Mhm.
do, that they can go, okay, here, I'm going to email you something that you can digest, that I think it can be very valuable. So you help
Well,
with the formulation of what exactly they want to get across and then how to do that most succinctly.
yes, and I write for Brains magazine
Okay.
as an executive contributor, and the last article that I did was on how to write an ebook for your business.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
When we distribute that, can you put that link in the comments for people?
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Now, one of the things that you'll be offering to our viewers, our audience today, as I understand it, is for them to reach out to you and get a free 30-minute consultation, writing assessment, book plan, whatever,
Whatever we call it.
whatever you decide to call it, whatever you formulate out of, just a 30-minute, what can you do for me call. So, how is the best way for them to reach out to you? What way would you like them to do that?
I think there was a number of ways they could email
Mm-hmm. Well,
to
Messenger.
they could that would be the other
Mm-hmm.
the
Okay.
other one. I think those are the two biggies, and then I would give them the link
Excellent.
to,
Okay.
to book.
And the all of the links to your Facebook personal page, your Facebook group, and your email will be in the description that comes around with this video. So all of you watching will have it at your fingertips. It's right above here, to be able to reach out to Mary and schedule that call. I highly recommend it, because if you're thinking anything having to do with a book, especially that will promote your business, or maybe it's just your catharsis story of trauma that you experienced, or perhaps it's a nonfiction book detailing exactly why what you're doing is so important to the world, like we talked about so much in depth. Having a writing coach will make that process go faster, probably take less of your time, which you can spend more time actually doing your business, and having the expertise of somebody who knows how to help you formulate a proper outline, whichever way that outline goes, will make all the difference in the world of your experience in writing and publishing this. So, anything that you want to add to that, Mary?
Well, some people just need a little coaching on just basic writing. I have a woman who wants to learn how to write better. So we're starting with a blog to do that one. And everything else you said is pretty much right on.
Awesome. And do you happen to have any final thoughts for us today?
Well, when I talk to people who are interested in writing, mostly like writing a book, but it would be for any kind of writing. I tell them that done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Because I'm a stickler with that. Everything has to be just so, or it's not ready to go, and that's not good.
Yeah. Perfectionism
Doesn't
kills
have to be.
possibility.
Oh my God. I especially with my work, it's perfection. Yeah, and it's done is better.
Nice.
Done is better.
Well, I
You
want
can
to.
always perfect it, but you have to finish it first. So
Right. Right. Excellent insight. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for being on the show today. I am so excited that we finally got a chance to introduce you to the world this way, because I love what you do, and I think that so many more people ought to be taking advantage of your skills and talents.
that would be nice.
All right. Well, have a wonderful week, or rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining us, Facebook. We really appreciate it. And have a fantastic weekend. Bye. When you open energy work, makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life? I can show you how.